Hello, I'm Angela Aurora. Welcome to the Oracle book series. Here you'll find interviews with our authors and lots more. We hope you enjoy the show. If you do, remember to click subscribe and share on socials. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Oracle book authors. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce some authors from our forthcoming Magdalene Oracle today. So before I introduce them, I'll tell you a little bit about the Magdalene Oracle. So the Magdalene Oracle, Awakening the Power of the Rose, is an invitation into a sacred journey of remembrance, empowerment, and spiritual awakening. Our wonderful authors draw on ancient mystery traditions and contemporary Magdalene teachings in this groundbreaking collection. And we feature priestesses and voices from across the globe, spiritual teachers, priestesses, healers, and channels who share their sacred practices, channeled messages, and inspirational stories with you to guide readers to reclaim their sovereignty and embody divine love. So we're really excited that our book will be published on the Feast of the Magdalene, the 22nd of July 2025. And if you're watching before that, you can find a Facebook group for all of the Oracle books where you can find more information. The link will be below this video. If you are listening afterwards, you can still join the Facebook group and connect with all of our authors, but you can also find our beautiful book on Amazon. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the wonderful Eleanor Williams. So let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor is a psychic medium who has a special affinity with nature and the divine feminine. She's a flower essence producer and practitioner who lives on the south coast of England and teaches many spiritual workshops, both online and in person. And before I welcome Eleanor, we've also got a Welsh connection because Eleanor went to uni in Wales. So I was delighted to find that out. So, Eleanor, if you'd like to unmute yourself, my darling, and just say hello.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm just going to ask everybody a series of questions. So, my first question is just tell the readers and listeners all about your practice or your chapter.
So, thank you. My chapter is about Mary Magdalene. It's about my journey with Mary Magdalene when she made herself known to me as a guide, and how she made herself known to me, and really my journey with nature as well, because Mary Magdalene is very connected to nature, and the flower and crystal kingdoms. So I talk about my journey with that, and my love for nature, but also something that you may or may not have heard of, the way of the rose, which is the way of the heart. And I go on to talk a little, I won't spoil it all, but I go on to talk about the rose, and the red rose in particular, and how important the red rose is for us as a human race, and the connection with nature, with Mary Magdalene. There's a lot there's a lot in that chapter, and it was it was very difficult to not do about 10 chapters of talking about all my experiences. But one of the things I also talk about is the crystal kingdoms, as I said, and my experience when crystals started talking to me, which was really beautiful, and also about the connection with the Fae, which is something that I'm quite passionate about talking about too.
I loved it. I've got to be honest. And I loved in particular that you shared an experience you had with them where they were giving you instructions and they would not be ignored, and I absolutely loved that. That's also my experience of working with the Fey energies and working with crystal divas as well, who have all their own personalities. So it's a really rounded, really rich chapter. But I absolutely loved your practice. Tell listeners a little bit about your practice, Cariad.
So, I actually, being me, I actually share two practices. I wanted to share two practices. So, I share a meditation that you can do with a rose flower in like a single rose. So that it will help you open up your heart, and it will also bring you beautiful healings and insights. So it's going to bring you whatever it is that you need. I can absolutely promise that. Um, and then I also share, because I really want to do this as a flower essence practitioner. um, I share how you can make your very own rose flower essence, which again is something that then you can bottle and take as what I call medicine, because it is medicine, and have your own journey with the essence of the rose. And as I say, the rose is very, it's not all, but it's very linked to Venus, and it carries lots of codes, codexes, and it just carries so much information and healing. So you're going to get to go on your own journey should you choose to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And yes, the Magdalene Oracle is all about awakening the power of the rose. It's not just about, I just can't wait for readers to get their hands on it, because it is so diverse and so rich, and so many different strands of practices that are just going to uplift people and change their lives. Where every author has been so generous with their practices. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'll move along and let me introduce the wonderful Swaane Lauwaert. I hope I've pronounced that right.
Yes.
Is Thank you. So Swaane is based near Saint-Baume in the south of France and is a nomad chef, specializing in retreat cuisine. And she balances motherhood with her passions. She facilitates Reiki, breathwork, and inner dance practices, and is training in coaching and quantum healing. And writing also holds a special place in her life. So, welcome, Swaane. Would you like to tell our listeners all about your chapter, Cariad?
Yes. So first of all, welcome to all of you, and thank you, Angela, for this project and bringing all of us together. It's really an honor to be part of this amazing project with everyone. So yes, my chapter is called Discovering Her, Discovering Me. But surprisingly, it wasn't my introduction to Mary Magdalene wasn't with her. It was actually with the forest of the Sainte-Baume here in France, where I live, and where the legend goes that she spent her last 30 years here. It was her last sanctuary. And this old forest really brought her to me, took her to her, and also awakened me. It's like that forest that is her temple really sparked something deep in me. And it's actually when I finally got to learn or was introduced to Mary Magdalene and learned about her beautiful, powerful message about love and equality, but that was silenced. Actually, she was silenced. She wasn't seen. That actually was really what touched me the most. I think it's a very universal story for a lot of people. And at the same time, that made me realize how far away I had drifted away in my personal life for my own truth. I was very unhappy at work at that time. I really felt like something big was missing in my life, like there was a big void. And yeah, I changed my life actually, like I changed it radically. I did the turnover of 180 degrees. I quit my job and I became an energy worker, a somatic therapist, if you like. And also on so many different levels, there was like this radical transformation, like in my connection with my children, with my husband, in life, my respect for Mother Nature, my love for the divine, and maybe most important, the love for myself. And since then, actually, my life quest, my dharma, as we also say, has become to offer unconditional love and forgiveness. I want to create a space where people are not judged, where they can embrace being fully human and heal. For me, working with people is like the most fulfilling thing that I can imagine to do in life. I love it so much. And also we heal not alone, we heal together. So I really want to create this space where people can come home to themselves and to the divine within themselves. That's really like my life vision now, my life quest. So actually the message of Mary Magdalene about unconditional love and non-judgment has become my own message in some way.
That's
Yes.
beautiful. Thank you, Swaane. And do you know, there's a follow through as well. You're in the forest and your son is conscious of the spirits of the forest. You know, the fae are appearing everywhere in this interview. It's so interesting. It's a huge theme that when people connect to the Magdalene frequency, there is, you know, it can create huge shifts in your life and huge transformations. And people are empowered to step into their own sovereignty. And it is a real common theme all the way through our beautiful book. So tell us about the practice that you share, Swaane.
Yeah, I'm so honored to gift the readers two practices as well. I couldn't choose which one. So I offer a quantum healing and an inner dance. And these two practices, both of them are really like packed with the potential for cultivating self-love, acceptance, self-worth. A lot of knowledge is in there, awareness. I mean, just in general, they can really radically change your life as they did with me. So I'm the living example of what they can do. So I can't wait for the people to experience them. And if I go a little bit deeper into it, the inner dance is actually, because the name is kind of confusing. It's not really dancing. It's really like a dance inside. But many times it's referred to as a Kundalini awakening. So you can, it can really, this practice can really lift you up to ecstatic, sometimes even orgasmic energy levels. But also have like a very profound somatic healing. It's really a wonderful practice that I love. And then the quantum healing, that facilitates on a very deep level, different layers, but really has a ripple effect on all the domains of your life. I mean, you can think of like finding your divine gift or your dream job, attracting your ideal partner, a better sex life. I mean, self-love. I mean, whatever you name it, things can happen. It's amazing. And it's actually like the most beautiful gift you can give yourself. because they really truly hold the power to change your life. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so generous. And you, like many of the authors, have got a link to download
Yes.
the practices as audios from your
Yes.
website. So, you know, for everybody listening, what you will receive in this book aren't just inspirational stories and incredible practices, but the opportunity to go deeper with, you know, each of our incredible authors with the gifts that they offer. So thank you so much, Swaane.
Thank you.
So last but not least, I would love to introduce Caroline Mary.
Hi.
So Caroline Mary is an ascension alchemist. She is a multimodality facilitator of healing and coaching. She has actually downloaded 2 healing modalities herself, and she curates wellbeing fairs in Mid Wales. She is also, and she hasn't told me to tell you this, she is also a multi #1 best-selling author, and her business, Open Lotus Living, supports well-being to individuals and her community. So another wonderful lady based in Wales. So Caroline, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Would you like to tell our listeners all about your chapter, Cariad?
Yeah. So I was looking through it this morning actually, because it was really quite a journey for me to write it. And when I agreed to be part of it, I thought, yeah, this is going to be great. I've already done some books, and little did I know I'd be going on my own journey of initiation to kind of really, really deeply understand the practice that I then share. So it opens, I talk with a scene from Chartres Cathedral that I went to some nearly 10 years ago now, actually. And around that time, I was really getting drawn to go to churches, and I was really remembering my faith and this connection to Jesus, and more Jesus and Mother Mary, and not so Mary Magdalene, but I always had the feeling that there was way more than the Bible stories, and I just had this knowing that I had to keep going to these churches and places. And at that time, I just awoken light language. So, as I went into the cathedral, I just got straight into the middle of the labyrinth there that's on the floor. And I didn't, it's funny, isn't it? I'm sure we all know this, readers as well, that sometimes you see a symbol and it like awakens something really deep inside, and you never have read something, but something in you is just like, this is important. And so when I came to writing a chapter, that scene just dropped in, and I was like, oh yeah, da 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 da. And in the scene, I'm there speaking and singing in light language, and it often happens at sacred spaces or stone circles. I would just stand and let myself be a conduit, and different languages come through, and it's like an activation, and I see different energies happening. But in my journey, I have also had massive times of crises of faith. And so after writing this bit of the chapter, I'm like, great, okay. And then there was a complete blank. And then I got the flu. And I was like, sat there thinking, what the hell am I going to write about? And I literally went right into this deep pit. And I had to just keep praying and praying and praying. And so this, you'll see later in the chapter. And by the prayers, I came back, brought myself back, reconnected with Mary Magdalene, and she just helped me see how my life has been like journeying in the labyrinth, right? So and this leads on to the practice later. So yeah, it's quite a lot about my inner journey, and the last 10 years for me, when about 11 years ago now, I really committed to my path. I'd had awakenings when I was a child, and I share a little bit about that. Had a big vision as a kid, so I was always really deeply committed to be in service and to be devoted to the divine. I just didn't know how that would look, because I would look around the world and go, there's just so much that I would love to change and help, and how on earth do I help people? And finally, those years ago, I really committed and I said, all right, I'm yours, like, show me what to do. And for the last 10 years, I've had downloads of information about like inspirations to come and meet Angela. I met her on a intuition, you know, I had to go to a wellbeing fair and I met her and I said, I think we got something to do together, you know. So, you know, and I've just been following the journey of intuition. But really, the overall with the chapter, it's a lot about like knowing that in our path of faith we'll be tested, and every part of us, like you were saying with the unfolding rose, you know, we are unfolding, and as we unfold, we are I was going to say trauma or dramas and parts of our soul, parts of our other life, our childhood, where we haven't felt in alignment. So there's a real journey about knowing that we can be in alignment, and that's when I channel light language, I'm like, you know, this conduit of light. I can feel it moving through me, but also I can fall out of alignment, and that's when we need these tools to come back into our sovereignty and our divine alignment. So that's really what the chapter's about. Yeah.
Thanks, Caroline. And you know, you share so much, and I think it's important for readers to understand that they're not alone in experiencing these journeys,
Yeah.
which is why it's so precious. It's absolutely perfect. I mean, I'm just astounded by how everybody has different messages, but together they make up this huge, rich tapestry. So tell listeners about your practice, Cariad.
Okay, so as I said, I was talking about prayer in my process of writing, let alone the rest of my life, and basically, so that's the first step, and the steps come from a process that I've called Coming to Peace, and as I said, that writing of the chapter has been me really understanding that our journey of healing is walking the labyrinth, right? So we start on the outside and we make a prayer. Okay, I really need some help. I've got this situation or this challenge in my life, and as we journey inwards, we walk, you know, the curls of the labyrinth, and we get right to the crux, and in that is where we open up and have the understanding and the compassion. So the first tool is prayer, which to me, like, if you're not making use of prayer, then do it, because you can pray for anything. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't even think what I want for dinner, right? And I make a prayer and, oh, yeah, there's a meal just comes to my mind out of all the leftover food in my fridge. I'm like, thank you very much. So, you know, it's from the big to the small, you can really help prayer. And when you're in a struggle, make a prayer, because you open up to the divine and open up to more solutions. So that's the first real main one. And then the next one is explore, right? And it's saying, you know, with a situation, sometimes we only see the outside, but when we journey into the labyrinth, that's what we're doing. We're exploring, we're digging in. And if, you know, you're going to be learning about coaching, Swaane, you know, when I work with clients, sometimes they're like, oh yeah, they're just talking of the outside. We make a prayer, we explore it, and then they get to the middle and they're, okay, yeah, that's what's going on, yeah. And then you bring in your compassion, and that's everything softens them. And the peace process is something that I've been getting more understanding about, and it's prayer and explore, acceptance, compassion, and ease, right? So it works as a whole process of peace. So when you read the chapter, you can go on to, there's a link to the PDF on my website, and you'll be able to use that process for whatever you're facing in your life. So there you go.
Thank you so much. And yeah, you've got a whole raft of Coming to Peace offerings, so it's just going to be absolutely beautiful for readers to explore. So I'm going to circle back now and ask Eleanor if she'd like to share with you what the one takeaway that she would wish for readers who are reading our beautiful book and her chapter.
Thank you, Angela. It's just really interesting listening to everybody else's stories, as it were. So for me, there can be no other kind of message, really, which is the message that I have been learning, And it's interesting what Caroline says, because intuition comes up and trusting yourself really comes up in my chapter. When I go into my first experiences talking to crystal beings and talking to the Fae and seeing the Fae. And I never said it, just quickly say the Fae did sort of like bully me into doing some things. So yeah, but the big takeaway really is it's a simple message of opening your heart and learning to trust yourself and opening your heart, trusting your intuition, because we're not in this kind of society that we're in. We're not conditioned to do that. We're, in fact, children are conditioned possibly by the system to do the exact opposite and not trust themselves, give out our sort of sovereignty and authority to outside kind of sources. So that's kind of my first message. And secondly, it's just my passion for nature and for the Fae, because they want us to open our hearts to them. They want us to work with them. And that's what's come through very strongly from Mary Magdalene, and my journey with her is trusting my intuition and working with nature, and understanding and appreciating that everything has consciousness, and having respect for that.
Absolutely. And that's a really strong message. And thank you so much for being a part of the Oracle, Eleanor. I can't wait for readers to discover you and discover your work. So thank you. So Swaane, the same question. What is the one takeaway that you would like readers to take from your chapter and our book?
I think for me it's more like an invitation to people to actively cultivate unconditional love and non-judgment in their daily life. Understanding that these are not like distant ideals or faraway concepts, but that they are powerful forces that you can embody and experience right here, right now. And I mean, you don't have to go to a church or a temple to meet the divine. You find the divine inside yourself, and you hold, like everyone holds, the power to create a more loving and compassionate reality. Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Swaane. And thank you again for listening to the call of your soul and being part of our beautiful collaboration. Bless you, Cariad. And finally, Caroline, the same question, my darling.
So I think the thing that I would love for people to receive from my chapter, and not probably maybe different from some of the book, but is that everything is healable. As I said, for me, and I mention it in my chapter, that it feels like the last 10 years have been a dark night of the soul. Like prior to that, I lived in a lot of grace. I was really happy to go and be of service, and I didn't always know what I was doing, but I was always like, yeah, I love God and I love Jesus and I just want to emulate, Jesus. It's a big part of the chapter, actually. But actually, then I had to go and deal with my shadow, which is fine. It's part of our journey here for some of us to deal with our karma, and that's brought up a lot of challenges for me. But every single time you can pray and come within, bring compassion, and every time there will be an energy coming to you, whether it's Mary Magdalene, whether it's Jesus, whether it's the Fae, or whether it's a crystal, that will always help you come in and see and kind of collect your parts and bring them back to peace and bring them back to wholeness. And it doesn't matter how many times we have to do that, we will just keep bringing more love into ourselves. And obviously the more we have love for ourselves, the more we can actually give that to others, because we have compassion and we've created that compassion for ourselves. So yeah, everything is healable, basically. Yeah.
Bless, bless you, Cariad. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your light in this beautiful book, and also in the Energy Healers Oracle series. So, you know, there are a lot more transformational tools in the other Oracle books. And Caroline has been so generous sharing her gifts in the other books as well. So thank you so much for listening today. And if you would like to find our beautiful book, then follow the links below the video and follow each of the authors on social media. You'll see all of their links underneath here. And we wish you so much love, so much healing, and that you step into the full expression of your soul in this human life. Thank you.